Hi everybody, welcome to Mistakes Were Made. This was a channel I created to document our family's progress with debt reduction and eventual elimination. And today we are going to be doing our budget recap for the first pay period of May. Now, if you're new to the channel, we do our budgeting based on pay period, and that ends up breaking the month in half essentially, so a first half and a second half. If you've been watching and following along, welcome to you as well. Thank you so much, and we'll get started. All right, so not a lot changed between what we budgeted originally and what actually happened. I will say that I have already actually done this video once, and like a goober, I managed to delete it. So I recreated the original, and yeah, so we're going to do this a second time around. Now let's get a little bit closer so you guys can actually see what I'm writing. All right, so we've got for income $2,006.55. and then $19.77.38. We didn't have any miscellaneous income, and here is where one of the very few deviations we have. We had $16.28 worth of orders in our Etsy shop. And then, of course, our rollover of $200.88. So we'll go ahead and add that together. Try and keep the glare out of there. 55 plus 1977.38 plus 16.28 plus 200.88. Okay, that puts us at $4,201.09 for our income for this pay period. Now again, not a lot changing here. 875, 1549, 1199, 114. Here's where, we start to see a little bit. It's always by a penny. I don't know why, but it is what it is. I suppose I could just change what we're guesstimating each time and drop it by a penny. But with my luck, it would then end up being 59 and 34. Okay, so the second pay period is when these other costs come through. These are, none of these fall during the first pay period, so that's why we've X'd them out. And now we're going to add those together. 875 plus 1549 plus 1199. 114.33, 121 plus 204.58, and that comes to a total. Why is that so? Oh, that is so different because, as a few of you mentioned, when I did the calculation last time, instead of doing 204.59, I managed to not hit the 5, and so it ended up being 204.90. So this is all off by about 40 cents thereabouts. So that's why we're seeing a difference between these two. This one could look a little bit more like a 3 if we really tried. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to subtract our total income of 4201.09, and that gives us a remainder of $2,858.70. Now, just as an FYI, we recently got a notification that our water company is going to switch from bi-monthly billing, so every other month, to monthly billing. Not really sure if that's going to be a boon or not for us. I mean, on the one hand, we did break the water bill up in half, so it would be a little bit more even. So we'll see. I am sure that in some way, somehow, they're going to find a way to charge us more. I mean, that just seems to be the way things will work. But we will see how that affects the budget. I think for us, it may be next month will be the first month that we see that every month billing. I'll have to double check the notification. But anyway, we are moving on. We do not do emergency fund during the second one. We're going to keep this blank so that we can keep the suspense. Because yes, we have already closed out the budget and we know what these numbers are, but it's fun to go through the process. So we've got a rollover of 200, and again, we'll know what the cents actually are when we get all the way through. So we will go ahead and just subtract the 200 from our leftover in the last section. So we have $2,658.70 at this time. Okay, and now I'm just going to quickly go through here and mark out the ones that we do not put money towards during this pay period. Okay, so we've got $100 for car maintenance, $12 for Christmas, $50 for both dining out and entertainment, $25 for garden and yard, $100 for gas, $5 for giving. We're going to skip this one real quick. $10 for health, $25 for household, $15 for license, $20 for taxes. So another area where we did have a slight deviation is the groceries. It is at $206.94. And this one is weird. It's during this pay period, we did not actually have an overage. Where the overage happened was actually in April. April was a magic month for our funding of groceries because we fund it every Monday, or at least that's how we determine how many times we need a $100 bill. But when we actually go to the grocery store is usually on a Thursday or Friday. And the way that last week in April fell, we funded it in the April budget, but we actually did the grocery shopping in the May budget. So technically we were using April funds for that shopping trip, and that shopping trip did go over by $6.94. So unfortunately, by that time, we had already closed out the April second pay period budget. So that is why it's showing here. Hopefully that makes sense. So let's see, we are going to take 100 plus 12 plus 50 plus 50 plus 25 plus 100 plus 5 plus $206.94 plus 10, plus 25 plus 15 plus 20, which gets us $618.94. And then what? And then we need to subtract, where are we? 26,265,870, which gets us $2,039.76. Okay, so we are going to pop over to the next section, which this, I'm going to raise you up just slightly so I can slide this under here for a moment. Okay. There we go. I love the debt section, mostly because we are doing very well with our debt reduction. I don't know if I'd love it quite as much if we weren't having some successes there, but for right now, I am liking it. We have our $400 for the city card. Discover does not get paid during this pay period, and $175 for the Reflect. So for those of you who are new, we are utilizing a snowball effect for the debt that we're working on. It initially started when we took 2 credit cards and transferred both of those balances to a 0% promo. Because we did that, the minimum payment that we were paying before was able to be reduced down because the zero payment card, the new card, didn't require us to pay nearly as much as we did on the ones that had an interest rate on it. So there was an initial shuffling of how much money we were putting towards different credit cards just because of that. Okay, if you saw a little bit of a jump, that's because Mr. M's alarm clock was going off, even though he does not work today. And he's not even here. So it was loud enough that I needed to close the door. All right, so we have that initial snowball effect. Then we use that to apply to the credit card we were focusing on at the time. We ended up being able to pay off 2 debts, 1 credit card and 1 loan. Thank you, tax refund. We could never have done it without you as quickly as we did. And so of course, those payments, those monthly payments, we were able to consolidate into the next debt that we were focusing on, which is the Citibank. And thus it became an $800 payment that was available. And so we wanted to break it up to be a little bit more equitable between the 2 pay periods, which is why we have $400 here, and then the next pay period there'll be another $400. Okay, so again, we know what this is because we have already distributed the extra money, etc. So suspense. Our total debt does not change here as far as how much we are paying out based on the budget. And then we are going to come back here and we'll add $575. And that will get us to $1,464.76. Now, I managed to not go over my allowance this time around, so hooray for me. Then we've got $1,434.76. And then we are, of course, focusing on the junk removal goal of $500. We did do the $100 transfer, so that is going to stay like that. All right, I am going to... Okay, come on. I'm falling off the table here. Falling off the table. Okay. This has decided to be a pain in the butt, so I am going to zoom in even closer. I'm guessing you probably would have rather I had been this close for this entire thing. So here, we're gonna slowly go through. So you can see the things that I was talking about a little bit more clearly. When I was looking at this through the camera, I was like, is this how close I usually am? And of course it was not. So I apologize if you weren't able to see it very clearly. That was an oops on my part, and hopefully I will not make that mistake again in the future. Okay, so we have that $100, and we are subtracting that from what it was before, which takes us to $1,334.76. So, as we can see before, we had budgeted, or expected in our budget that we would be divvying out $1,325 at the end of the pay period, and we actually ended up with a little bit more because of the Etsy, even though we did have the overage over here with the groceries. So let's see what that means for what we're doing. We're taking $1,334.76. We are going to subtract. See, being this close has its downsides. 75%, which gives us 333. So we're going to just put an X through this. 333. And then we will take the original 1334.76 and minus 333, which means we are left, instead of $994, with $1,001. Now, we also have 76 cents that are going to roll over. So let's go over to our savings piece. And I don't know why when I recopied this, I didn't put in the original expected savings, but we now know it's actually going to be $333. We also know that this is going to be 76 cents for the rollover for our buffer. Okay, so now when we're doing our triage of the debt, I like to put the bulk of it towards our main goal, which is city, but I also like to throw a few dollars, if possible, to Discover, because it is our only credit card currently that does actively have interest being applied based on our rule of ending with 0, 0, 25, 50, or 75. The nearest number without going over is 1,000. So instead of $975, we are putting an extra $1,000 towards the city card. Unfortunately, that does mean that Discover suffers a little bit because it only gets $1, and I absolutely do put that $1 in, even if it seems like it's not worth it. Every little bit helps. So that's one less dollar of debt that I have to pay off, and it's one more dollar to mitigate the interest that is going to end up applying when the statement cycles. So it helps even though it's only $1. So we'll update this. This ended up being 1,000. That does not look like a 1. So 1,000, and this ended up being $1. All right. So that is, let's zoom out again. That is our recap. We did very well. We were able to pump up that debt payment and the savings just a little bit. Thank you to the Etsy shop and the sales that we were able to get there to kind of help get us over that $1,000 hump. And let me put in here, just for the official record, that it's $1,001. Now, we are going to briefly take a look-see at the, I'll move this over to the side, at the calendar. Let's see here. Good. I am able to show you the entirety of the calendar without how messy my dining room table is. So again, for those who are new, we use this calendar to document everything that goes in the checking account, out of the checking account, savings, and things like that. It's another opportunity for us to kind of reflect on how we're using our money. It is an after the fact scenario. So, you know, even if we do have regrets, we can't change what happened, but it does give us the opportunity to kind of think about it and say, well, did we really want and need to spend the money the way we did? Is it helping us get to the goals that we are trying to achieve? You know, those sorts of things. And if not, then we know, you know, maybe we need to do something a little different in the future. Also, I think it's going to be a helpful way for us to determine, are we falling off the wagon? Are we starting to do and get back into habits that are detrimental for us? This is not an easy process to completely change the way you think about your money and the way you use your money and things like that. The ups are great when you're seeing the debt get paid down and all of that, but the day-to-day can be tough, especially if you have, shopping is a way of relieving stress. It's not really for me, but if you get in the mindset, it's really easy to get up on Amazon and be like, hey, that would be neat. Oh, that might be fun. So, this has been helpful for us as just kind of a secondary way to review how we're doing. We also keep track of things on our credit cards on this side, but we're not going to look at those because we're going to look at it a little bit more in depth in just a moment. All right, so let's check out. Oh, you know what? That looks really far away. So let's see about popping this sucker a little bit closer. Hopefully that reads a little bit easier. This is our May 1st through 15th debt reduction. So this is just what we reduced during the first pay period of May. So city started at $4,450 and it is now down to $3,050, which is a reduction of $1,400. This does include the $1,000 that we just talked about for the extra debt reduction. So Terry, see, you were very close. You had guesstimated that we would be under 4,000 and maybe into the 3,000s. We did. So very excited. I appreciate your enthusiasm and your encouragement getting there. Discover was at $9,856.96, and it's only at $9,855.96 because of that $1, mainly because we don't pay on this account until the second pay period. The Reflect card is at $12,945 at the beginning of this pay period, and it dropped to $12,770, which is essentially the minimum payment that we are paying on it, $175. The actual minimum payment for this account is not $175. I think it's about $130, but this is what we are allocating to it each month at this time. So we went from a total of $27,251.96 of debt down to $25,675.96 of debt, or a difference of $1,576. Not too bad. I am very, very pleased with how we're doing and everything. I wasn't sure if I was going to go into this second time around of doing this video, but I think I will. Recently we talked with our upper management and we had a discussion about, how much longer the job is going to go. And they did mention, at least right now, the expectation is we're going to go through June, which is something that I was hoping we would at least get through, because I'm pretty sure if we stick to budget, etc., we will be able to pay off the city bank if we're going to be working through June. That said, the workload is very, very light right now, and it makes me very nervous because I don't have the level of work as I've used to for my employees, and that's hard. They are very hardworking people. They don't want to be sitting around doing nothing. And I, of course, don't want other people looking at our department saying, well, you got a bunch of people sitting around. Why are they doing that? Now, granted, I'm not the one that's in charge of, deciding if there's layoffs and stuff. So, my direct leadership is saying, I want to keep these people in place just in case, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm very grateful for that, but I also worry what it all means. So right now it's feeling really, it's becoming more and more real. And I don't mean that I never thought we were going to actually get to the point where the job's going to go away. Every month it's it's a stomach churning situation because I'm waiting to find out, okay, is this the last month that I'm going to have a steady paycheck? But at the same time, this has been going on since last August. So you kind of get used to those highs and lows, even if they are awful while you're working through them and living through them. But yeah, having seen where our workflow is currently, and then having the discussion with the head or the folks that are higher up than I am, it's feeling like we really actually might be getting close to getting that notification of, thank you very much for all your hard work, but your last day is. Now, I have thought that multiple times during this process, and I've been wrong. So who knows? Maybe we'll get towards the end of June and they'll say, hey, we need you to stick around until July and then August and then September. We just don't know. But having the frank conversation with my now immediate boss, it did feel like we might be towing that end of the road line. So we'll just see. But that did have me, of course, kind of spiraling a little bit and extra stressed out. So I decided to put together kind of some positives and negatives about how I feel about that. So the first positive is I am happy and enjoying the fact that both me and Mr. M got raises. We are obviously going to benefit that in the near term as well as the long term. There's going to be less money that I need to contribute to make up for the loss of income with what our budget is currently because of his raise. My PTO and severance package should be bumped a little bit higher because I am now going to have a higher wage that's due, as part of the calculations for that. Obviously, however long this does go, the more money we have coming in, the more debt we're able to pay off. And so just a little bit less burden. And that one weighs heavily because I think about that. Where and how would we be dealing with this if we were actually looking down the barrel of, 5, 6, 7 debts, credit cards, etc., still on our plate with the job loss looming? We have been incredibly blessed that this has worked out the way it has, and we have been able to put in our efforts to make it work out the way it has, and experienced success. Because a lot of people put a lot of hard work into trying to get debt free, and just because of the situations they're in, the income that they have to work with, they don't necessarily make as greatest strides, and it can be very, very frustrating and heartbreaking, and like you're beating your head against a wall. And I will say we have been lucky that that is one area of stress and difficulty that we haven't had to deal with yet. So there's that. That is a positive. I don't know if it came across as a positive towards the end. One of the negatives is I am extremely, extremely nervous about not having a job, just the not having a job piece of things. I have been working at this job for almost 18 years. Actually, maybe more than 18 years, because I started as a temp in 2006, in August of 2006. And just the idea of not being employed is not something I'm terribly used to. I have been working since I was 14. I mean, I did some summer jobs here and there while I was in school. Once I was out of school, I pretty much jumped into the job market, and whether it's working temp things or being hired on to a place, I basically have been working ever since, except for a short period of time where I got hit by a car while I was a pedestrian. And I was walking with the walk light, and they were making a turn and apparently did not see me there. And so I was injured, and unfortunately I was injured long enough that the place I was working with or working at eventually let me go because I couldn't do the job yet. So I had, some rehab that I did, and it took me a little bit of time to get back into the swing of things, but that's pretty much the biggest gap of non-working that I've had since I've not been in school. So just that makes me nervous. I am very positive and excited about the fact that City is close to being paid off. Having 3 credit cards paid off and off of our plate, off of our shoulders will be huge. Being able to do that snowball rollover effect and have it go to our next credit card. There's absolutely kind of an endorphin and serotonin rush, something that does help, push that motivation even further when you see that you're meeting goals like that. So definitely a positive there. The job hunt. I'm incredibly nervous about the job hunt too. I have not looked for a job in 18 years. And from everything I'm hearing from people, it has changed quite a bit. I never had a situation where I needed to go and do 3, 4, 5, 6 interviews for a single job. That just seems asinine to me. It does not make any sense. And as somebody who is in a position to hire people and who have hired people, I don't understand how you can't know whether you want to bring somebody in within the first meeting and interview. I could see, yes, having a pool of people that you have to whittle down from that first meeting, but by the second interview, to me, you should know who is going to be a good fit. And I don't just mean from a what are their qualifications, et cetera, standpoint, but are they going to fit with the team that you have in place? Because that's the team that's gotten you where you are so far. So you want to make whoever's coming in new is going to be a good fit and not a detriment. I don't get it. I don't understand why it would take so many interviews. But that is the reality of today. And obviously not every place does that. But even still, I'm hearing from a lot of people that they're putting in their resumes and they're getting ghosted at that point. They're putting in their resumes and they're getting interviews. After the first interview, they hear nothing. Not even that they thank you very much, but no, you didn't get the job. They'll go for 2, maybe even 3 interviews, same situation. Not even the courtesy to tell them, sorry, you didn't make it or whatever. So I don't like that idea. And so I'm very nervous about it. I'm nervous, am I going to be able to find something that pays similar to what I'm making now? Hard to say. I'm doubting it. Am I going to be able to find something that pays less but still more than we actually need? Maybe. But what I'm seeing out there, I'm not seeing a lot of things that I'm really excited about, which, I don't have to love the job that I work at. I'm not there as a lifestyle. I'm there to pay my bills and, so that we can help make sure that we're being secure for the future. But having come from a job, the one that I have now that I've absolutely loved, not having that is a little concerning, but you do what you got to do. Another positive is spring and summer. I'm not one that has that seasonal depression disorder thing. I love a cloudy, rainy, gray day, which you get a lot of those in Oregon, especially in the fall and winter and very early spring. But I mean, I have to admit, when the sun comes out and it's a beautiful day, my spirits are absolutely at an all-time high. I love to go and look in our backyard, especially after Mr. M's been out there mowing, and it just looks so nice and pretty. And of course, being out in just the general Oregon landscape, it's gorgeous. There's a lot to be said for our spring and summer. It takes a little while to get there, but it's well worth it, and definitely a positive. And I know that it's going to help keep my spirits up while we're going through this process, whether it's a case of the job finally goes away or it's the daily slog of living under the expectation that the job is going to go away. The next one is living off of savings. I am not excited about this. I'm happy. I am very, very, very happy that we have put ourselves in a position where we can fund my share of the budget for a minimum of 6 months. We have actually funded it more than that, but our goal was to get a minimum of 6 months. With his raise, that lessens the amount of what my contribution has to be, and so our savings will go, just that much further. So it's a good thing, but it really makes me nervous, because as impressive as things like this may seem, having the ability to pay extra on our debt, when the job goes away, this is not going to be a possibility as far as I'm aware. I mean, I don't see how we would do, because we are not funding our budget based on what our actual pay is at this time. We are funding it based on how much do we need to pay for each of the budgeted items, and that's it. So there is a lot of safety in knowing that we, as a general rule, will have leftover income that we are then very privileged to be able to apply to savings or to additional debt reduction. That safety net is going to be gone. So this is, once the job goes away, it's going to be a real test of how well we can stick to this budget. And we've done a good job, but that has all been under the understanding that if we are slightly off, or if there is a slip somewhere, or if something somewhat catastrophic comes through, I can't say, if something's terribly catastrophic, we can do it, but as a general rule, we would be able to absorb that, even if it was more than one of the categories we already have, what we have in that category, or if it's a category we haven't even been saving for. We know in the background we could absorb any overage, and it would just mean that we can't apply quite as much money at the end of the pay period to our debt as an extra, but that's not going to be there. So there will be absolutely a real test of how well we stick to our budget and how well we deal with the idea that there isn't that unspoken safety net that our current pay and income is allowing. So we shall see. Another positive was meeting multiple goals. We have paid off, 2 debts. We are on the process of paying off a third. We were able to save up money for our garden. We saved up money for Mr. M's recliner. We're in the process of saving up money for another project and task that we want to do. So being able to do those things is absolutely a positive. Another negative is not having structure. I am very much a person who loves surprises as long as I know what it's going to be. I am a person who is perfectly happy to go and do spontaneous things as long as we have a plan. So I come from a family where we plan things out and we have stuff to do. I am terrible at being on vacation, particularly if there's no plan for that vacation. If I go and I take a week off and we're not really planning to do anything at all, after about 2 days, I'm back online doing, looking at my email and stuff like that for the job, because I can only relax for so long and so much. And then I need to be doing stuff. So not having that structure of a job, I'm going to have to figure out how best to organize my time, because as much as people talk about job hunting should be a full-time job, and I do absolutely agree, you need to be putting your back into it and really pursuing things. I can't see myself spending an entire 8 hours every single day job hunting. That I just don't think that'll work. Plus, there's not a real structure to job hunting. So even if I did try to do that, I don't know that it would give me exactly what I need. But the other piece of it is I have to be careful because Mr. M does work a night shift. And so anything that I'm doing around the house, I need to make sure it's not going to interrupt his sleep, because I do not want him to be doing the long drive that he does, tired, being at work tired, and all of that. So not having structure is a concern. Being able to stop and slow down for a moment. So as much as I say, I'm not good at relaxing, I will put out there that the last time I took any specific paid time off, not holiday, not having a holiday, but actual use of my PTO was 4 hours in November. So it has been a while since I've taken any actual vacation time. And quite frankly, I don't anticipate that I'm going to take any until this is over. I want to maximize the amount of money that I'm going to get once the job goes away. That does have a downside because I am not taking the time to kind of relax as fully as maybe taking a few days would give me. I do have my garden. I do have the opportunity to get outdoors and do stuff. Mr. M and I, we do get out on weekends when he's not working to enjoy ourselves. So I'm not saying that we don't take time to have fun or anything like that. But whenever I am at home, and even if I'm enjoying, taking an hour or two to read my book, there's always in the back of my mind, work. Work is there. The stress of work, the stress of not having a job soon, that whole thing, it's always there in the background. And it will be nice to be able to have some time that is not work-centric. Of course, I will also be looking for a job, so that might get taken over by that particular stressor. But I am looking forward to being able to sleep in, as an example. Being able to laze about just a little bit without, you got to be up so that you can be at work. And yes, even though I work from home, it still can be a trial depending on how you're doing and how things are going. So last but not least, we will have the opportunity to, tackle home projects, and me in particular. Again, I'll have to figure out how to do that without being too disruptive, noise-wise, if it's when he is sleeping so that he can go to his night shift. But I'm anticipating, I'll have more time to do things, and for example, get more stuff into the Etsy shop, because I still haven't done that. And that we talked about months ago as something that I needed to do as an option, so that we could boost up the some of the extra income coming in. And I have not listed more than maybe 3 new things in the shop. Anything that's sold so far has been inventory that has already been listed and was available in quantities. So that's one thing, that hopefully we'll be able to get done, and myself in particular. Maybe do a little bit more baking. We have been having fun doing experiments with making our own lunch meat. We've had one that we feel was like really, really successful. It was just a little too salty, and then 2 others that were more ho-hum. They went well, but they were a little ho-hum. So, small things like that, I think will be helpful and fun. But yeah. So anyway, that's where my thoughts are. This is how we've done with our debt in particular. Okay, come on, there we go. And of course, this is how we did with our expected budgeting, and I feel like we did an incredibly great job. So I am patting myself on the back. Not that I was the only one that had anything to do with it, but Mr. M is visiting his mom right now, so he does not get a pat on the back at the moment. I will give him one when he gets home. All right, I am at over 45 minutes for this video, so we are going to cut this. I want to say thank you so much for watching. Again, your guys' encouragement and interest in how we're doing and what we're doing has been amazing. I think I saw we had something like 700 subscribers, which blows my mind. If you've been watching and you're interested and you haven't yet, please consider subscribing. I guess that's kind of it. Thank you so much. Any questions, comments, things like that, please note those below, and we'll see you in the next one.